Could this idea possibly be flawed? I believe that this brain that we all have is flawed. It's not intelligently designed at all. Let me give you an example. I happen to be a magician. I fool minds at all times. And you know how this works? They fool themselves. If you were to really want to believe that you're going to be hypnotized or that one card is going to turn into another one, you convince yourself that that's actually what's going on. This, it's a balloon. This, it's a deck of cards. You can convince yourself that this deck of cards can go inside the balloon. That would be amazing now, wouldn't it? Obviously, it's an illusion. This actually didn't happen. You convinced yourself for a second that that really was inside the balloon. You understand how flawed that was? Your mind perceived something that wasn't actually there. If you were to show something to someone and then move it around and then change hands with it and then show your hands to be empty, people happen to think you had something in your hand. You know why? Because we connect the dots and we assume shit. And that's the problem with a human brain. If you were to assume that you don't have this problem and your assumption that the God had to make it makes your idea just as flawed as science as far as you fucking know.
They want to say Moses didn't really speak to God, as if they looked under a microscope and said, aha, Moses didn't speak to God, look at that.
And you claim, oh, Moses did speak to God. How do I know? I read it in a book. My priest told me. I just know. No, you weren't there either. You can't claim knowledge you don't have. God damn, how hard is that to believe? That fourth point you made there, pretty convincing, honestly. I have nothing to say about that. I'm not going to argue it because I don't know anything about DNA, which would probably, genetics and DNA would probably prove you wrong. But I'm not in that field, so I couldn't possibly tell you you're wrong there. And by the way, humans don't only make humans. That's not as simple as that. Little changes are what evolution accounts for. Little changes. And if you look back about 50 years ago, the hottest girl you would see was something like Marilyn Monroe, or, you know, if you just look at pictures a long time ago, the hottest girls, the ones who were on TV, were chubby and with small boobs. Just so you know. Now look at the hottest girls nowadays. You have like Pamela Anderson, you have like Jessica Simpson, you have really fucking hot girls with giant boobs, small bellies, and giant butts. That's an evolutionary change. That has changed over time. And that's the way it works. If your crazy idea of evolution says something like, well, a human at some point is going to have something that's not a human. No, that's not necessarily it. A dog never has anything other than a dog. But it will have a dog who is capable of doing something the parents couldn't do. A son could possibly do something the parents couldn't do. Namely, I don't know, believe something different that might explain something a little different. My parents were Catholic. Your parents were atheist. You see the problem here? There was a change. And the change is actually based on the environment, what's around us, and we're capable of changing. Those changes account for your kids. And your kids are going to have those changes in their fucking genes. Sooner or later, down the line, your son's son is going to have an ability that your parents didn't have, or your grandparents obviously don't have. You understand that? We are capable to grasp the term iPod. Think about, I don't know, 2 generations ago, they had no idea what a Walkman was. You understand this? It's obvious that it's slightly changing.
We have empirical, scientific, historical data that Jesus Christ existed.
Holy crap, empirical data! Where is it?
People witnessed that.
Give me the goddamn data! Don't just claim that there is empirical data, there is scientific data that Jesus is here. No, there isn't. Give me where you got that information from. Give me the website. Give me a link that says this is where the data came from, and I can tell you where it came from. It came from other people that also agree with you that just desperately want to prove that Jesus existed. That's where it came from. People who want to believe it. That's called a magic trick. Boy, am I tired of listening. And I am also tired of talking. I have never been so upset about so many points made in one fucking video, and this is ridiculous. But, just one more point about your heaven and hell thing. We, as human beings, have only one clue of how to feel pain or pleasure. We only have one way. It's called a brain. Through the brain, we use our skin, probably our eyes, all the parts of our body, and specifically the skin, to feel pleasure or pain. Both of those require a brain and skin. My question is, do you have a brain and skin when you die? At this point, the presence of your skin and brain slowly decrease, because they will go into the earth. They don't go anywhere. And I can prove this to you by going to the cemetery, opening the fucking thing, and you're gonna see how everything's slightly decaying. That's how it happens. How can you possibly say that we're going to heaven or hell and feel pleasure or pain? Either of those are completely pointless. We don't have a human body to feel those feelings. That means even if there is a heaven and hell, it matters nothing. It absolutely matters none. And you know why? Because we can't feel a fucking thing. We don't even have the eyes to see what we want to see. The thing is, atheism doesn't give you all the answers. It doesn't give you comfort. What it does is make you deal with the real problems, not with the fake ones. Living this life assuming that there is another one, it's a waste of this life. Enjoy this one, because it's the only one that we are certain that we have. And the moment you start wasting it with your mumbo jumbo, it's just a waste. You're not living the life you have. And the moment, whenever there is proof that there's a heaven, there's a hell, there's a God who's judging it, then I'll consider being a different person. Just to know that there is another life would make a huge difference. But we don't know that. And I like to live my life by what I know, not by what I think I know. Xpider can too, the magician, finally arguing against the stupidity.